Hi and welcome to this week's GMBN Tech Show. Coming up on the show, what we got?
Oh, Transition have dropped their new relay.
We've got mud shedding bike coating.
And Nipex show us a handy little hack with the zip tie.
Yeah, it's a good one, that. We also have a look at when a mountain bike becomes a mountain bike.
So when does a mountain bike become a mountain bike and not what you call a mountain bike shaped object?
Or an ATB.
No, ATB is a thing now.
This is an age thing for me.
Yeah, well, back in the day when it wasn't a mountain bike, you said it was an ATB. But yeah, that might upset some of our purists out there because ATB is definitely an all-terrain bike now. But anyway, point is, when is a mountain bike a mountain bike? What is the line? I'm kind of scared of offending a few of our viewers here because we're going to go on price, I think.
I think intention as well.
Yes.
You've got to kind of...
Or why that price is not good for what you're buying, perhaps. So this was kind of sparked by Blake's Amazon bike. I'd seen it again recently. I was reminded of how terrible that thing was. And he spent nearly £300 on that thing.
It cost way too much for what it was.
For what it was is terrifying, if I'm honest. That thing fell apart. The wheels were flexing so much they were actually rubbing on the the seat stays. The linkage was banging against the frame because it was
metal as
bottoming out. And you said it was super heavy.
It's so heavy. I thought it was a joke. I thought, hold on, is it full of water? Is it bolted to the floor? And I also had two other people that work in the company that were like, have you felt that bike?
Right.
Like, there's something wrong with it. And I was like, no, it's that heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quoted at like 40 odd pounds, but I think it's nearer 50.
Oh,
and it's
days.
not like e-bikes weigh similar amount, but you're ready for it. When you see this little tiny thing, you go pick it up, it's shocking.
Yeah. And I don't think you can honestly say that's a mountain bike. That is just a bicycle with knobbly tyres.
They weren't even that knobbly.
No, and it has a kickstand. Does that mean it's
convenient?
No clutch, but it does have a kickstand? The tech's weighing itself out. Anyway, I went and did a little bit of online shopping to see how much I had to spend. So obviously, I don't think buying a £100 bike from supermarket is going to get you a real mountain bike. It will definitely be a mountain bike shaped object here. Blake spent £300, so I went shopping with £300, and you do need to spend £300 to start getting discs. Pretty unlegit looking coil in the rear, but the real corker was that it was 19 kilos or 40 pounds. So anyway, I went to spend a bit more. Went to spend £1,000 to see what that got me. And although the brands are slightly lesser known, I'm aware of them because I've sort of seen them a lot in bike shops and whatnot. We've got things like a 67-degree head angle for a downcountry-ish mountain bike. It's a full suspension, aluminium frame. We've got RockShox Recons on here, 130 mil of forks.
What's the price we're looking at?
SRAM SX Eagle 1x12. This is a £1,000 bike here. Check this out. This is a Carrera Titan men's full suspension bike. I think that's the model name. But it's not that offensive to the eye, and it's got branded kit on it.
Yeah.
Not Larry coloured like you would often see with the sort of cheaper adult bikes that are sort of mountain bike shaped. Shimano MT200 hydraulic disc brakes as well, not mechanical. 27.5-inch wheels as well, not 26.
It's not a bad bike, to be fair.
I don't think that is completely terrible. And although I don't think it's being sold anymore, do you remember the Caliber Boss Nut when that came out?
Yeah, they were about £1,000, weren't they? As well,
were,
if you had the card and stuff, yeah.
Exactly, full suspension, aluminium bike, and just to prove that wasn't a mountain bike shaped object, a couple of my other half's friends still have that Boss Nut. They've owned it for 3 or 4 years. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah,
so
bike.
To me, that is a mountain bike, something you can use and not smash completely by its own linkage, basically, like Blake's bike, and then also a bike that actually lasts for more than just a year.
What about hardtail though? So obviously some of that money, £1,000, no doubt is good value for what it is, but it's still £1,000. Still Bit of money in it.
Exactly. So I found all of these sort of not huge brand bikes, and they were offering full suspension because I think that appeals to their market.
Yeah.
But if you went to a proper brand for £850, you can head to Canyon and get yourself a Grand Canyon. And that is a hardtail. Yeah, and I actually started mountain biking on that. I used to race it. I've done stage races on that old bike back in the day. And although they've brought in a newer, racier XC, the Grand Canyon is now sort of slipped to that more sporting cross country. But it was a race bike back in the day. And I think it looks absolutely lovely. I've shown a picture of the women's one because I just think it looked pretty. The other one's £850. Can you believe that?
So looking at the bike, in fact, you've got it on your screen now, it's easier. If you took the suspension fork off that, let's say you take off £100 off the price of it, that's probably not far off the pricing of, in sort of today's money from when I started. You'd have to have spent £400, I reckon, to get like an entry-level bike that's suitable for off-road, that you could still race and do stuff on it. And it wouldn't have had disc brakes, you would have had cantilever brakes, triple chain set, all that stuff. But not too bad.
But
it looks
Shimano,
decent.
12-speed.
Yeah, good componentry on there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think £800 to £1,000 is what you have to spend for it to be a mountain bike. But should we throw this over to the viewers?
Yeah, 100%.
See what they think. How much do you think you have to spend in order to get a genuine mountain bike and not just a mountain bike-shaped object? Let's start the debate, if you can say it, down in the comments below. So the Transition Relay has finally dropped, and this is Transition's attempt to bridge the gap between mountain biking and e-mountain biking, or at least give you the option of both, apparently. So what we've got is a 160 or 170mm travel. It's your choice. It can come with dual 29ers or mixed wheels if you want 27.5 out the back. It comes in both aluminium or carbon, so there's lots of choice for you in models here. And it will be spec'd with a Fazua Ride 60 system, which is their lightweight 60 Newton meter motor, and a 430 watt quick removable battery. So this is what's bridging the gap between mountain biking, is that it is a lightweight motor, but also that battery can be pulled out of a trapdoor really quickly if you want to ride it as a mountain bike. Full product details and bike availability will be coming in spring. We don't have it all yet, but it's definitely dropped for you to have a look at now.
Yeah, do you know, I've heard Jonesy talking about the Fazua system a lot.
I know.
That guy talks a lot, but it sounds like it's one of the only ones that you take the battery out of it, and when you pedal it, you're basically disconnected from the gearbox in there. Yeah. So you literally are just pedaling a bike.
Yeah, I've heard it sounds just like a normal, it feels just like a normal drivetrain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very cool concept. I know they've talked about that loads on the GMBN, but yeah, it's a good bridging style bike. I kind of feel like we should have a look at something like that. It definitely feels closer to what we're riding.
Well, yeah, because the Scott Lumen obviously come out with something similar, being lightweight, but it's very down country, cross country. Yeah. So this is more my bag.
Nice. Okay, so let's talk about mud-proof bikes then. Right, so
what?
I've got here a coating, right, ceramic coating. Now, Ollie over on GMBN Tech, he's been barking on about this stuff for ages, and I've finally listened to him, basically. I did see these guys at Malvern's last year, along with, it seems like, thousands of other people, and I'd kind of forgotten about them, to be honest, until I went to Fat Creations and I used a ceramic coating on that Manitou-inspired bike. But in the meantime, these guys have sent one of these kits over. Now, this costs £55. Now, you put this on your bike in a very particular way. You've got a cleaner on there for the bike to sort of like, it's like a decontaminant. You've got to wear your gloves, you should wear a mask, open your windows, all that sort of stuff. Costs £55, and they say that this coating will last 24 months.
Okay.
24 months of mud and stuff just falling off your bike, which I'm going to find out about this. I've just got a new cross-country frame, so I've coated it. You need to leave it for 24 hours to dry before you can sort of reassemble your bike, and another 7 days before you can get it wet. So just behind the scenes, I'm going to be having a go with this and see what it's like, because curiosity killed the cat, because my feeling is that this would be very good for the roadies, probably not quite so good for us. But the guys that I saw at Malvern's, obviously they're trying to sell the product. They were like, no, this stuff is amazing. We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, I've seen it sort of beading up, like on
Like
on
using
screen,
sort of
but
silicone
I've-
sprays
yeah.
and things like that. Yeah.
And I've seen people use it on fabrics and whatnot. But whether I believe it will happen on a mountain bike or not, I don't know.
But it has come from the automotive world, and that is world famous for making real good products. Keen to know if
True,
any of
yeah.
you out there have used anything like this. Let us know on what your experiences were, because I want to know. Thank you all.
Meanwhile, over on Instagram, some wild vintage downhill bike has resurfaced. And Doddy, I'm looking at this Swiss cheese piece of metal, and
More importantly, it's got Scott Sharples racing at the bike. So Aussie guy, great. He's worked for Mavic. He's raced for Trek. He's been everywhere. I think he was the Aussies world champs coach or something at some point. Legend. And I've seen the bike before, but not one with all those holes drilled out of it.
I was going to say, looks like he's riding a bit of old scaffolding.
Looks like
here.
he's riding a bit of Death Wish to me.
Is this for lightweightness then, because he's got too much scaffolding going on?
Honestly, I've not seen that picture before, and I've not seen the drilled out. I've seen that frame, so they had various different downhill prototype frames over the years, including that high pivot Session 10 thing. But I've not seen that one, and that looks crazy to me. In fact, I'm going to have to get in touch with Scott to find out a bit more about the bike, because he has ridden all sorts of weird contraptions over the years.
Yeah, so vintage downhill, if you want to check out the Instagram profile. It says the Swiss Cheese Trek Pro issue, so it must have been a special Swiss edition.
Pretty dangerous looking bike to me.
Yeah.
Something else on Instagram we spotted was last year when we went to Sea Otter. Do you remember Garen from Santa Cruz? So it was
Lovely
actually,
guy.
I saw his face pop up. I was like, it wasn't his personal feed, it's on the Santa Cruz feed. I put the audio on, and basically it's a tour of the Santa Cruz factory, and someone's asking about, when you spec a Santa Cruz, how do you cut the steerer tube down to the perfect length every time? And they've got a machine that they've developed in-house to not only cut it, but to sort of mitre it perfectly smooth every time. We can't play the full video on screen now, but there's going to be a link to it in the description underneath. You've got to check it out. It's seriously cool. I'm going to have to go there again at some point just to see that machine working.
Wow,
It's bonkers that
that.
they've developed that. And check the finish out on that.
Oh, it's almost
How insane is that?
chamfered, isn't it? That's delightful. Can we get one of those in here?
I think it takes up quite a bit of room.
Hello, Garen, if you are watching, by the way.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thanks for that tip. Another tip that I saw was Nipex sharing this, and I can't believe I've never thought of this.
I know, I thought the same. I feel ashamed.
Did you not?
No.
Honestly, I feel stupid. Now, once you've watched this, you can't unsee it and you'll feel stupid. But basically, they've got one of their tools, and it's just kind of squeezing the head
really.
of the zip tie open so that you can reopen it.
How many times have you accidentally scuffed a tube or a hose or something?
Yeah.
Trying to trim them.
The amount of times I've tried to take race board numbers off the zip ties, and I'm getting tools in there to open it and twist it.
Yeah.
Idiot.
I can find a lot of electricians out there watching going, oh, you amateurs. You don't know your cable ties, do you? Well, you've got to learn at some point. And next one, actually, this is quite a big one in news, and we're going to do a piece on Park Tool soon, but Park Tool is 60 years old this year. I didn't quite realise how old they were. I knew they'd been making tools a long time, but 60 years. So they're going to be doing some really cool celebrations over the year, and I'm sure that we're going to be doing some stuff with them. I did ping Truman and Calvin an email recently just to find out a bit more about what's in store this year. But be sure we are definitely going to be hooking up with them. We're going to be doing some stuff, I think, at Ice Bike this year, probably at Sea Otter, and no doubt at the Global Bike Festival as well. But stay tuned on the Park Tool thing, because I think there's going to be something interesting coming from them this year.
Ooh, or at the very least, head over to their website and read about their About page and find out what they're all about and where they came from. It's actually quite fascinating. And then finally in news is the Global Bike Festival is back, and more incentive for you to go. We're both going, aren't we?
We are, yeah. Anna's going to be up on the stage doing a seminar about... I don't know what about. You're going to be talking about something. Yeah, come and ride with us. Come and hang out. Come and drink beer. Come and listen to music. All that stuff. It'd be great.
Yeah, so it's the 15th to the 18th of June. Just checking that in Saalbach in Austria.
Australia?
That would be good, wouldn't it? That would be good. And I'm pretty sure, isn't the World Cup happening over the other side of the mountain?
They're going literally the other side of the mountain.
Yes, so you could potentially get the chair lift up over, watch it, and cycle back to join the rest of the party later on that weekend. So
fairly sure some of us are going to be doing that.
Yes. Head over to globalbikefestival.com to see more about that. Okay,
quiz time. 3 tech-related mountain bike questions coming at you on screen right now. Question 1, name the major bike brand that had a 10-inch travel high pivot bike in the early 2000s.
And then name the company who invented the first ever bicycle work stand.
And the last question, PT's products make some very cool anodised parts, but which other bike brand have they collabed with to get their colours?
Answer coming up at the end. Right, it's comments time. And last week I was talking to Rich about hidden shocks and whether we think good or bad.
And what did you think?
I like the look of it, but maintenance scares me a little bit on that bike.
I think I'm with you there.
Yeah, and most people are pretty conflicted in the comments as well. So Ben Connolly says, I'm conflicted. Think I would always like to have my shock on display, but I love that they can do this. It could add so many benefits. Wish you'd listed them. I'm not sure.
Next up from the Butler says, my 1979 Yamaha DT175 had a hidden rear shock in the top frame attached just back from the head stem.
Ooh, a bit like the e-bike from Scott, the long travel one.
I do feel like motorbikes, you probably adjust things like that less than you would in a mountain bike.
Nah, they're always tinkering, aren't they?
Are they? I don't know.
Yeah, motorbikers are, yeah. Okay. Feedback ZA Loop says, amazing it took that long for cycling to pick up this idea. But considering the shocks themselves go up to automotive standards only recently, what I mean is, yes, please, more of hidden shocks, but less gimmicks like Olympia. They had a semi-hidden shock in the rear.
A semi-hidden shock?
Well, they had the nice, the shaft that you want to protect out in the open, and then they just hid the body, which is really unusual.
Facepalm. Yeah. Moon May said, completely pointless, overly engineered and terrible to maintain. Same as cable routing through the headset and plenty of other stupid technologies being forced on us because mountain bikes are pretty much good enough for the past several years. Flipping out, you had salt in your tea today.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
It's very upset about
I do
that.
actually understand this though. The cable routing through the headset, it looks beautiful, but it is a bit annoying. I do get that one. But I don't think terrible to maintain because it's been tucked away, so in theory you could think it would take less maintenance.
Maybe. And then
Maybe.
you know what? And I've had bikes that have got externally routed cables, all external shocks, and it still looks beautiful in my opinion. So yeah. Chibani says, if we begin to hide our gear, how may we proudly brag about it?
And there's the crux.
Very
right
good
there.
point.
That's the single
Very
most
good
important
point.
thing, isn't it? How's everyone going to say, look at my Kashima shock if it's hidden?
Exactly.
Yeah, rubbish, yeah. But you could have a cheap shock and
You
tell
could have a
everyone you
cheap
had a
one.
really expensive one, couldn't you? Benjamin Knudsen says, I've ridden the Spark RC and now I'm riding the Spark Tuned. The stiffness increase in the BB is definitely noticeable. The shock's really accessible and easy to use. The sag markings on the outside are very easy to use and set up. The benefit of having a shock protected from the elements means no scratches from mud and longer service intervals. What's not to like? Cable routing isn't a problem and a dropper is easy to install.
Well, they have it
Well, there's a fan.
straight from a rider's mouth.
Yeah.
Love that. Thunderstruck MTB finally says, I'm sure the frame designers at Scott have all of their kitchen appliances hidden away in the garage for that super clean look. Yeah, they probably do, don't they? They probably never see a tool.
I think
around
the
there.
frame designers at Scott, given where they're based, probably have in-house chefs. Just taking a guess there.
Probably.
Okay, my favourite part of the show, bit of rewind action. Don't forget you can get involved with Rewind, Top Mods or Bike Cave by telling us about yourselves and sending us some pictures. There's a link right down there, probably another one at the bottom of the screen. Please do get involved, help us out, help us talk about cool stuff. Tell us where you're from, what your bike is, what you love, all that sort of stuff. It's a pretty simple uploader to use, so please do get involved with the show. You help us make it better. So coming up this week, we've got Richard with his 1995 Kona Hey Hey. Location is Vancouver in Canada. Classic Kona titanium frame built up with top shelf, circa 2010 parts. XTR race face drivetrain, RockShox World Cup fork, SID on there, out on an icy gravel ride with studded tyres.
That's
Do you know what?
delightful.
The thing is, it's got the tyre look, isn't it? It always stay looking that good because it's never going to corrode or anything.
I know. That's the
Very
time I was
clean.
starting mountain biking and I was drooling over that bike for
I
sure.
have to say, and I don't mean this in any offence, I really never liked those XTR cranks. I know it sounds like a weird thing to say, but I just feel like they just looked weird. But very nice and really nice to see it. Oh, hello, I recognise that GMBN t-shirt. So this is from Dave. Hello, Dave. I know you, Dave. But yeah, very cool bikes. Manitou Hardtail, one of the rarer bikes actually. Ringley stem on there, spin wheels. Can't see what tyres you've got on there.
What are you saying about those squirrel catchers? Have you ever ridden them?
The wheels?
Yeah.
No, do you know what? I'm sure the retro community will lynch me. I never liked spin wheels. The only thing that made spin wheels acceptable was Dave Hemming. And he had a spin wheel on the front and a disc drive on the rear, just to see how much money's worth of wheels he could put on a bike, because he was Dave. USE bar ends, Ringley bottle cage. Are they, what cranks are they? Are they Middleburns or Graftons? They're Middleburns, aren't they?
Yeah.
Lovely looking bike, dude. Absolutely immaculate as well, by the looks of it. Okay, so let's have some quiz answers then. Do you want to jump in first?
Yeah, sure. So name the major bike brand that had a 10-inch travel high pivot bike back in the early 2000s. It was the Trek Session 10. That was a big boy, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, I said early 2000s. I think it was actually 2005, 2006,
yeah.
but still fairly early on.
It's very early.
Bruiser of a bike, that thing was.
Yeah.
Next up, who invented the first ever bicycle workstand?
Well, of course, it was Park Tool, was it not?
Tool.
Now, apparently, this was actually made out of some dining room table legs, an empty shell casing, and a truck axle from a 37 Ford. But they put it together just for themselves to use. They thought it would be easier, and then bike shops started seeing this happen and thought, well, we want one of those too. So they started making it. Park Tool was born.
Very nice.
60 years ago, obviously.
It is mad, isn't it? 60 years making tools. And the last one, PT's products have some very cool anodised parts. Who did they collab with for all the great colours? It's Chris King. So there's 12 colours in the range, plus you can also get the Raster 50-1 valves as well.
Yeah, all interchangeable as well if you want to mix and match.
Thanks for watching this week's show. I'd love to know what you loved on the show. Please do get involved, and don't forget to subscribe if you don't already do that, and tell your friends about us. We make free content and it's out there 4 times a week.
Yeah, we'd love to know what you've loved. Tell us in the comments below, and we'll see you again next week.
See you later.